Check, check, check. And we're live. We are live at Trailblazers Esports. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. To the Group 4 Champions Final, Season 6. Brought to you by Scorched Media and Elite Brake and Mechanical. What do we have in store for us this evening? Gr4 racing around Spa. I believe the format is a short qualifying session followed by a qualifying sprint race and then a feature race for the final, which will see pit stop strategies. Soon to be joined by PJ Mack, well known in the community. He'll be along soon to join me in the commentary box. But as we wait for qualifying to begin, we will roll through the grid. Lambos. Lambos setting some good pace in practice. Benjamin Disco. I should have the team sheets in front of me, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm a terrible person. Obviously a turtle from one of the turtles. Millsy. As we roll through, I will pull up the championship standings for some relevant information.
And I'm back. That was much longer than 2 minutes. I apologise.
It's all good. Welcome, PJ. We are live.
Excellent.
Waiting for everybody to fire off for qualifying. It's rolling through the grid. We have Disco, the Group 4 blue champion.
So trying to back it up with a second championship.
Don't have the other results from the other championship races. I'm not prepared. The stats guy is not prepared.
Don't you hate
we'll
that?
Do it
the
live.
Stats guy doesn't have his stuff.
We'll do it live anyway. Who else is there? Lambos coming second. Is Lambos present? Yes, he is.
Lambos is present.
Second in GL4. Followed by Mitch. Mitch, third place in the blue split. And then Crashy, CME Crash for the Turtles. We're getting fourth position.
Turtles have been quite strong this season with Crashy and Benji up there. They are fierce friends, I might add, so I think they're probably giving each other a few tips.
Great to see. It's always interesting to see how the rivalries play out on the track as well. We all know each other. A lot of us have known each other for a long time, and we all have our own. We all have our own individual relationships and the way we drive around each other, which is great because we know how each other drive.
Absolutely. It's become such a clean and gentlemanly class because of that as well, which has been fantastic. It's great to race with good people.
Qualifying is beginning. Rick Reen was fifth in the blue split. I believe he made it.
So this season's been rather interesting because they moved to a front engine rear drive only format, which has pulled a few people out of their comfort zones, which I find rather interesting.
So who else? We'll go to the red lobby. Tricky B, the red split champion, Tricky Brewer. And then Kez Audio coming second in the red split. Where's the Chompster? Chompy, third position in GR4 red. Takes it wide into the end of the first sector. Drivers warming up their tyres on their outlap, trying to find themselves a little bit of space. Chompy picking up a penalty for track limits.
That's not going to help him in any way, shape or form.
It's Mal, the malevolent one, coming in 4th in the red split.
Mal in the Toyota 86, which is going to be interesting here because it's got brilliant handling. But I think those Jags are just going to be so quick in a straight line, it's going to make it interesting as the race moves on, especially this first one with the high tyre wear.
Timmy Turtle, he was 6th in group in the blue split. My bad, I missed him. Scraping in there. Was it top 6? Must be top 6. Must be.
Must be.
And then QE and Mixer was 5th in this red split.
Just wondering where did Millsy top the? No, Benji did. Actually, where is? Oh, Millsy was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Millsy was 8th in the blue split. So he's somehow managed to scrape his way into the final.
Huh.
Bozza 777 in the Lexus. That'll also be interesting here. Another car that handles well, which I think is essential at Spa.
Where is he? There he is. There's Bozza. Do we have Tony or Marchi? No, but we do have QE. QE 97.
Yeah, Tony will probably mid-flight and maybe actually listening on. Tony, if you're listening, I hope your trip home was nice and calm. He's been thankfully out working, plying his trade, which has been very heavily impacted by COVID. So thankfully his... I won't mention what he does, but it's nice to see that those things are starting to continue and come online a bit more. This is interesting under qualifying conditions with Lambos going around Bozza 777. It's never good to have to overtake. Never good overtaking during qualies.
That slipstream and believes that he can capitalise and maintain the pace.
And the Lexus
Definitely
is
holding
all
up.
over the Aston Martin. Mitch is sitting back going, maybe I'll get a benefit from this if I don't get too close.
And Millsy's setting the pace early.
Bozza does not look pleased. The attitude of that car is saying, damn you, you're holding me up now. Lambos's car is almost a Australia Post livery, but it is a full dress scorched media livery. Proud sponsors of Trailblazers.
Mitch comes flying past Bozza now. They're going to the third sector.
Bozza's having a bit of a shocker. He will not be pleased. Now back a bit further. Who else is nice and close together? So Chompy's got himself some space. Kez has got some space.
So with the time limit, it looks like it's
definitely one lap shot, absolutely. So I'm going to go the possibility of a Millsy.
Do they get to start the flying lap? This is their flying lap now, yeah, my bad.
If they make it, they're on the flying lap now, yeah. Millsy's not going to make it.
Well, that's the drama. One lap, one attempt. They're going to approach the line now. Millsy leads us over the line. We look to the timing screens. Sets the bar. At
2:28.6.
Lambos goes faster.
Oh, and Lambos and Mitch.
Mitch equals it.
By 0.03 of a second.
Bozza 2 seconds off the pace. Rick Rain 4 seconds behind. Kez Audio with a 2:29. 1 second off the front row. Chompy 2:30.9. Wow. Timmy Turdy with a 2:30.
Mal's beaten him straight away. It's they've changed so quickly. It's hardly
busy middle pack.
Absolutely. I think between Kez and Crash, things are going to be very tight in that little group.
Look at that, the front three, Lambos and Mitch pipping Millsy and Kez behind. That front three all tight together, and then a gap down to 4th.
Tricky comes across the line, only 5th.
Sneaks in there though. Stays relevant.
We're going to make sure they're relevant. We have to make sure they're relevant.
In this Champions Race format, everyone is relevant. I believe so. I got the format right. Now this is just a sprint race for the grid.
Yes, that's correct. So we now have a, I don't know exactly how many laps it is, but I will check, but it's very high tyre wear and on medium tyres, so it's 10 times tyre wear.
And this sets the grid for the final feature race. So no points.
No points for this one.
Extended
but
qualification process.
Spa.
Oh, this Disco Lambos, Mitch, Millsy. Disco pipped it at the end. I missed that.
We missed that. I missed that completely.
Boom. Huge lap. Mic drop.
Absolutely.
Disco with the turtle livery on the front row. We wait for lights out at Spa for the sprint race of the Group 4 final.
And lights out and away we go. Had to beat you. Sorry, mate. You can get back to the real one.
Yeah, we'll spin off the front row for everybody as they come down towards the hairpin. 3 wide. Disco leads them around from Mitch from Lambos. Kez, Millsy, and Tricky. Oh, big. Who was that? Someone lost their rear end.
They've managed to straighten up. A bit of contact between Millsy and Crash, I think, there.
Single file through Radion and Eau Rouge up and over the hill. Very low downforce at the peak of that hill.
I wonder if we'll get any penalties. Timmy Turtle wide into Radion.
Side by side, Lambos and Mitch. Mitch is in the slipstream. Disco's going to come across at some point. It's on for second place already. And Kez is extremely relevant. As Mitch loses his rear end a little bit, gets a little bit taily. This is awesome.
Oh, we've got a flying Lambos there off the classic GT Sport curb jump. I thought it was only Minis that did that, not Aston Martins. Benji's building a little bit of a buffer here to Mitch. Lambos is all over Mitch like a sheep suit. Millsy's all over Kez right now. Kez. The handling of the 86 will be showing its face. Oh, he's snuck in back behind him again into the... Oh, Kezzy's a little bit loose. Millsy's right on his quarter. Be a braking duel into here. Kez is very good under brakes and extremely good on the fuel use. He's absolutely miserly on the fuel. And he should be running much longer in the next race when fuel becomes a major issue.
Shows his nose.
So
Lambos still front, right on the bumper of Mitch.
This is going to be interesting up into the final chicane here. Oh, even maybe happening beforehand. Of course, the Jaguar and the Aston are technically very similar cars underneath.
Lambos side by side with Mitch into the left-hand kick.
He's going to have to...
Well done from both drivers.
Very interesting. It looks like Millsy's trying the very outside line on Kez as well, but that doesn't look like it's going to work.
Oh, puts himself in the right position. Kez concedes the spot, looks for the cut back in the drive.
Oh,
he's got the drive.
Lack of power in the 86 shows out there when the corner's not a essential item. Millsy's not going to be happy with that.
To turn 1 for the second time of 5 laps.
Millsy will be suggesting that the game's broken because he's not just jumped past Kez there in an instant. And we've got Benji out front. This is very unusual for Benji, not the fact that he's out front, but the fact that he's driving a front-engine rear-drive car. He's very wedded to his Group 4 Alfa Romeo 4C.
Breaking the slipstream already to 1.1 seconds, 1.2. Lambos. Mitch is looking for the run into the braking zone.
Obviously got Mitch into turn 1. We must have missed that. Mitch is not letting it go though. In fact, Kez and Millsy are still not quite trading paint, but there's not much more than a cigarette paper between them.
Shows they're coming down the hill. Shuts the door.
Nicely driven from Kezzy there, Team Roadsick Racing. I have to mention my affiliation with Team Roadsick. Oh, a little bit wide there onto the AstroTurf. That's not going to help his drive. Millsy's got his nose there.
Who's going to yield? Kez tries to send it around the outside, just holds on. Oh, then Kez loses it into the grass.
No, he's sideways. He's hit Tricky. Tricky's wide, Timmy's wide.
Tricky doesn't lose too much time, and luckily he ghosted out just before Timmy Toto went straight through the side of him.
Kezzy's unfortunately dropped back to 13.
That could have
very
been
unlucky
so
for him.
Much worse. I mean, it was bad, but it could have been so much worse. Look at these three here, Huey, Bosner and Rick Reen, all bumper to bumper.
And Timmy Turtles earned himself a penalty somehow there and running wide on the way up the hill. So Mal is all over him like a cheap suit as well.
Long slipstream, snake.
Oh, Lambos has lost it. Oh,
no,
how did he gather that? How did he gather that up? He's really wide into the chicane, and Mitch is going to drive
Mitch all the way
around the outside. Millsy's got a advantage there. Oh, we've got a penalty up the front. Disco got a penalty.
Wow, Disco serves a penalty, and now he's all the way back to third, fourth.
No, back to fourth. Wow, small gap back to Tricky Brewer leading the second pack.
So Mitch goes from third to first.
Amazing couple of corners for
Tricky and Crash not too far behind. No, especially if these three start squabbling, but you'd hope that Lambos and Millsy are thinking about Mitch more than each other right now. Thinking about that slot on the grid, that front row for the feature race.
Millsy's driving the protective line because of the lack of straight line speed from the 86. Ooh, Lambos is throwing it hard. He wants that to stay in that second place.
Just putting it alongside. Seeing their position again. Well, they've definitely caught Mitch. They're back in the slipstream territory of Mitch.
This is one of the things, though, that Mitch does very well. He can be extremely consistent. Oh, Millsy
now Disco's back.
Over. Millsy's going to want to get past Lambos because he knows full well that Benji is an absolute assassin when it comes to...
Goes alongside, he's got the outside line, he's got the racing line, but not the inside run.
Interesting to see here whether or not Lambos can gap him up the hill. They're certainly slowing each other down. They're a second down on... oh, Millsy's alongside already. How will this turn out through the final corners? Mitch appears to have dropped a little back into the clutches of Lambos there at touch. He's only got 3/10 on them now.
Right behind him.
Oh, look at this. All four covered by less than a second.
He waits. He doesn't move. He doesn't go for it.
Oh, is that a slight corner cut there from Lambos? Is he going to get a penalty for that? Look at how close the four of them are. Millsy's got the fastest lap at a 2:29.185.
Lambos shows his nose to Mitch. Demands his attention.
So we're on to the second last lap here. I think it will be decided between these four unless something catastrophic happens. Oh, Lambos has definitely got a slipstream here. Mitch has gone very defensive. Will he be able to outbrake him? And he's passed, setting a faster sector time. Is he going to run wide here?
Outside just keeps two wheels in the paint. And it's around the outside to the inside line.
Oh, Lambos has got a outbraking opportunity here. Will he put it down there? And he's back in the lead. Oh, this is very tight.
Fantastic braking.
Wow.
I thought Mitch had him then, but look at all four of them on a dime. You can throw a blanket over them.
And Benji's got Millsy at the same time. That must have happened at the end of the Camel Straight as well. They're through No Name. Lambos is possibly going to show him a set of heels here if his speed continues. The Camel Straight on the next lap is going to be very entertaining.
Chase cam with Millsy in fourth position. We go through the technical sector.
Oh, well, Millsy and Benji were very close together there. I feel like I'm letting the rest of the races down by not talking about them, but all the excitement is happening in these front four, trying to get on the front row of the grid for the grand final.
Now the slipstream, what will happen to Lambos at the end of this straight? Two turtles, will they work together to secure
I was about to say that.
front row position?
The turtles are playing very close together here.
Big run now.
Wide. Millsy's around the outside.
It shuts the door. Leaves the door open for Benji. Benji doesn't take it.
Oh, wow.
Benji loses a position. Mitch runs wide. And Millsy's up the inside of Benji.
Wow. I can't keep track of all these different
and then Millsy backs off. He wants the whole shot for the slipstream up the hill in the third. Wow!
Look at that! Benji nearly runs up his posterior on the exit of turn
Disco
one.
wants to get it done now. He doesn't want to wait for the slipstream up the hill. He wants to put the pressure on early.
By side into Rouge. Benji's going to run wide.
Is there a penalty there?
Away with that. Has he got a penalty or did he get away with it? No, Millsy got a second. Millsy got the penalty.
Millsy got the penalty. Oh my God.
That will change the result of this race, no doubt about it. That could put him back into the clutches of Crash if he doesn't get rid of it in the lap. He has to burn it off before the start-finish line.
Oh, great run there on Mitch.
He's got a run on him, but I don't know. The penalty makes it a bit of a moot point.
He's got to get a job on if he wants to do anything about it. He needs a laugh of the gods. He's got to get past Mitch here. Mitch just parks it on the apex. You're not coming through here, son.
Beautiful driving from Mitch.
Another great line there, but Mitch putting it in the right places.
I think Benji might have settled for the position he's at, or at least he knows that with the penalty he's going to jump Millsy anyway. Millsy's wide onto the AstroTurf.
Oh,
Millsy's well wide. Not good. Very wide.
That means Disco's through.
Crash and Mal are actually half a chance here.
This can put Millsy back into 6th or 7th. So we flick forward to the front. Lambos is checked out. Two and a half seconds down the road. He's going to have pole position for the feature race of the Champions Final. Mitch is currently in 2nd place, being followed by Disco and Millsy. Millsy with a 9/10 with a 1 second penalty. Crash and Mal right behind.
Will there be a late dive here? But Millsy's still got 0.9. Oh, Mal's very wide. That could help Millsy if he's lost enough time.
No glory lunges through the final sector. Mitch has had a bad run though. That might yield a spot. Lambos takes the checkered flag and pole position.
Millsy
and it's a sprint to the line. Look how close that was. Whoa!
Oh, wow.
0.061 between Mitch and Disco for the front row.
Fabulous racing from the two turtles. That was fair but very fast.
Millsy keeps it together for a 4th position.
Tricky in 6th. Mal 7th, unfortunately, after running wide. Timmy Turtle in 8th. Huey in 9th. Rick in 10th. Kezzy's made his way back up to 11th. What a race.
That was awesome.
That's a great helmet design, I must say.
Over that for ages. That's so good. It's
isn't
great.
That isn't that a breakfast cereal character?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's frightening that I know that. I'm just going to shut up now because that was embarrassing.
I'm guessing there's like 5 or 10?
Generally between 10 and 15 minutes between the races.
How long?
Give the guys a chance to chew the fat and go to the bathroom for some of them, because you know some of these boys aren't as young as they used to be.
So I wonder what the strategy play is going to be. So must use 2 compounds, must use mediums.
No, see, this is very interesting. Must use mediums. So there has been, and I can say it now because we're up to the grand final, but there has been a strategy of running mediums for the whole race because the rules, on very careful reflection,
Yeah, of course.
don't say a compulsory stop.
Just say
It
must
says
use
you
mediums.
must use mediums. So
with the pit lane changes, yeah.
With the pit lane changes, it's made a huge difference. And in fact, I had a race at Interlagos in the minis, where I thought I had the race won well and truly. I had 4 seconds on the next place behind me. Everyone that I was aware of was waiting to pit on the last lap to change to mediums for a single lap. And when I left the pits, I came out 3.5 seconds on the final lap behind none other than Rick himself. And he beat me by 0.8 of a second. And the reason he beat me was because he ran mediums for the entire event. So this will be interesting to see who runs for a no-stopper, because it could definitely be done. You may be losing 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap. That was in the case of the minis, because our grand final was here as well, and I ran a no-stop and finished second behind DK. It will be very interesting, because a lot of the guys didn't run, even though they knew that that was a possibility. They still pit stopped, and the pit stop here is about between 25 and 27 seconds, not including fuel.
To add context to that, so they changed the way that the pit stops work, in that pit stops now take about I'd say 250 to 400% longer than they used to, which has dramatically changed the way that strategies play out. It's changed the value of different strategies. It was very popular to do very short stints on the harder tires early on. But now, with these changes, a lot of those strategies are kind of null and void. Just all the drivers have had to reevaluate the way that they build their strategies for this race engine and how they apply that. 15-minute break. Fantastic.
No worries.
There's no one on track to look at.
That's always mildly disappointing for a period of time. Absolutely. I'm just going to have a quick look at something.
We'll take a little intermission, and I'm going to go and take a break. Short break.
Sounds like a great idea. We will be back shortly.
Refreshment break brought to you by our sponsors, Elite Brake and Mechanical. Did I say it right?
You did, absolutely.
How was I saying it right? Anyway, and Scorch Media, Seriously Web. We'll be back.
We will be back.
So mediums are the compulsory compound. What is the play? How long is the race?
There's a couple of interesting things that I've just discovered as well in your absence. I did a bit of, internet sleuthing in relation to today's update. Patch 1.64 was released for Gran Turismo today. Very relevant to this particular race is that the F-Type Gr4 and the RCF, so that's the Jaguar and the Lexus, have both been given balance of performance changes in today's update.
Ups or downs? The teams have brought improvements to the final.
Both F-Type and RCF, unfortunately, have received the stewards slapping. So the F-Type has gone from 391 brake horsepower to 387 brake horsepower.
So that affects Bozza, Crash, Turtle at least.
At least. So that's from 98% power to 97% power, so a 1% reduction. And the RCF has gone from 402 brake horsepower down to 398, so from 96 to 95. So that undoubtedly will be causing a change in the way that the pack is balanced. There's no question about it.
We love a ruckus, though. We love a ruckus.
Absolutely. Well, that might explain also why the Jags didn't just leave everybody for dead.
Early feedback on the strategy plays. Rick Reen on the softs in practice still. So looking for that one-stop strategy. Bozza also on the softs. Unless they're showing bluffs. Potentially going for the one-stop. Lambos, Huey and Crash sitting in mediums on the moment. Potentially leaving them open for the no-stop. Timmy Turtle coming out on softs as well. Gets out of Kiwi's way.
It does surprise me a little bit that Rick's come out on the softs, because he, as I said, was a victor in the no-stop strategy for minis 2 weeks ago, and he did see us in Spa no-stop to an even bigger advantage in the mini grand final on Tuesday night. So it will surprise me that if the boss doesn't run it. So Bozza is also impacted by today's balance of performance reshuffle. He's running around on softs and just earned himself a 1.5 second penalty. I'm not sure what he did there. That is a cracking EBM livery, I might add, on that car. QE also running full EBM sponsorship. Of course, EBM is a title sponsor of the Trailblazers lobbies. They are a legitimate and very successful mechanic workshop in the eastern part of Melbourne. So they will play with any car that you want to take to them, and a great bunch of blokes that quite clearly do good things for their customers and are very positively reviewed. So if you're in Melbourne and you need a good mechanic, go and look up EBM or Elite Brake and Mechanical. He's very active in motorsport. In fact, has a Super 2 or a vehicle running around with a driver in Super 2. About Supercars feeder series with EBM sponsorship. So Mitch, the owner of EBM, is very proactive in supporting motorsport, both real and virtual.
See Timmy Turtle on the softs. Disco on the softs. At the moment.
See, Disco was only running Gr4, so he didn't see the mini, or the impact of the single stop in the minis. And I'm not suggesting that a 200 horsepower N100 Mini is any comparison to a Gr4 car, but the length of time in the pit stop is the cruncher, and also obviously the difference in time between the soft and the hard tyre. So I'm not seeing any lap times on my view at the moment. Benji's coming in to swap tyres. I'm wondering what he's throwing on here. I wish Gran Turismo had colour codes on their tyre walls. He's pit crew waiting an extraordinarily long time for the car to travel the 100 yards down the pit lane. It does look a bit silly now. So number 4 is in the pits, and he is swapping to a set of
new set of softs.
He's gone to another set of softs. That's really, so that almost guarantees that he will be running a one-stop strategy. Crashy's on softs. Kezi, surprisingly, is also on softs. Chewy is running around on the mediums. He's done a 2:38 outlap. We've got no specifics. Kezi's outlap, as he just unfortunately sticks the Jag in the dirt, was 2 seconds faster. I know we can't compare outlaps. It looks like Kez is heading out to change his tyres.
Looks is sitting on softs.
Tricky's sitting in the pits on mediums. Mal is on softs in the pits.
A game of bluffing and braking, isn't it?
Oh, this is going to be very interesting, because I know I don't like that the game sort of gives away a strategy like this, because they can obviously see what we can see. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes of the tyre decisions, and we'll obviously know more when the race starts. Lambos is on the mediums as well. Benji's still on the softs, as we saw. Tricky's on mediums, but quite bizarrely, he's seeing what I'm seeing here. He's skipping down the straight into the wall before the GT pits. That's interesting. Don't know what's going on there. Hope he hasn't had a medical event or something. Oh, he's on the throttle again. He's in 4th gear, doing 20 kilometres an hour.
He's waiting. It looks like he was waiting.
Yeah, it's like he might have gone for a drink or something.
I'm playing mind games with Lambos, potentially, waiting for him to catch up and just being present on track, both on medium compounds.
Psych him out.
Just checking the chat, Mr. Nicholas Cusack, Mr. Zuzu, and Mr. Tony Bryan. What's up? Checking in.
So Tony Bryan is our mate Tony. Team Road Sick. It's good to see he's able to join us to see what the racing's going on.
Look at Mixer. What's he driving? Lexus.
So we're getting a couple of practice times on the board, 31s and 33s, 31 for Crashy on a set of softs, and Huey has thrown a 33.6 on the medium, so 2 seconds a lap. This final race should be, I believe, 12 or 13 laps.
It's 17, isn't it?
Top of my head. Oh, if it's 17, that's a much longer race.
Yeah, 17.
Maybe that... Okay, so that probably does exclude the
one stop.
the no stop. I think the no stopper mightn't come out. So all these guys on mediums, I don't think you could do 17 laps on softs. And you probably won't have the fuel for it either.
Update the grid before we get things underway. We've got Lambos, Mitch, Disco, Millsy. Let's check the tyres. What are the current compounds that they're running? So Lambos.
Okay, Millsy is about to start the race.
Oh, we're going to kick things off.
Yeah, Kez is saying hello to Tony as well. Obviously probably heard that he was watching. Kez, you got to stop listening to the YouTube commentary and concentrate on what you're doing, mate. It's team member to team boss.
And the final is beginning. This is where the big boys come to dance. 17 laps at Spa for the Gr4 champion of Season 6, the Champion of Champions final. The top drivers from both splits. Medium compound is the compulsory compound. What are we going to see on the strategy table? Lamboss is going to lead us away from Mitch, Disco, Millsy, Crash, Tricky, Malevolent, Turtle, Kiwi, Rick, Kez, Bozza, Chompy, and Mixer. BOP changes at the last minute to some of the cars on the grid tonight. We're waiting for the lights to go out at Spa for 17 laps of Champions final action. Lamboss is going to lead us away. Mitch is going to try and get him around the outside into turn 1, and we're off and racing, flying down into turn 1 as they fan out 5 wide, running down for the first time. Lamboss already lost out in position. They go in 2 wide. Mitch tries to come all the way around the outside. They go side by side up the hill. And everybody else sorts themselves 2 by 2, flying up the hill towards Radion and Eau Rouge for the first time. Disco comes around the outside of Lamboss as well.
Oh, we're 2 wide into Eau Rouge. Can this work out? Lamboss manages just to stay inside the line.
Disco runs it wide.
Runs it right at Radion.
And Tricky with the outside run on Lamboss now as well. Disco.
Oh, Benji's got a penalty, having been tapped from behind by Tim Turtle. Half a second to pay there.
Tricky breaks. Depot tries to come around the outside. Gets the job done.
Where did Tricky come from? He got a wild start.
And Millsy pinched in by Crash and Disco. So close as they run through the middle sector for the first time.
Round into No Name here. Mitch is starting to put a bit of space between him and Tricky, and the pack is jammed behind them.
Angry pack of Hornets. Wow, and Mal's come off.
Mal's in the wall. That's a shattering event there. Be interesting to see how he can come back from that. Through the Puons, heading down to the campus chicane.
Tricky's the cork in the bottle. Disco with a penalty. He'll fall back into the pack. He'll disappear. Back down to potentially even 9th when they come to the start-finish straight. And Mitch disappearing down the road.
Oh, Tim just caught a humongous slide. That was an amazing piece of driving. Didn't seem to lose any time. Benji's penalty is going to be punishing in this first lap.
Let's just check the
tyres too.
That is the last
time.
So Mitch out in front on mediums, Tricky's on mediums, Lamboss on mediums, Disco's on softs, but with the carrying a penalty. Millsy's on mediums, Crashy's on softs, Timmy Turtle's on softs, Kez is on mediums. That's the top 8.
Tricky's covering off the line. There are cars everywhere into the final chicane.
There's ghosting. There's all sorts going on.
Benji and Millsy are nearly into each other.
Millsy around the outside of Disco.
Benji's doing a dummy burn because the penalty had disappeared, but that has hugely impacted his position. He's down to 7th position now with only Kez behind him.
Crash takes the
Crash and Tim
line. Timmy tries to go around the outside. Side by side, but then Crashy just concedes the position up into Radion and Eau Rouge.
Lamboss is off after Mitch.
1.8 seconds the gap. Tricky Wheeler tucked in behind. So the front 3 on the medium compound. Timmy Turtle with the inside line on Millsy. Millsy cuts back, takes the position back, loses his rear end. Little bit of contact there with Crashy.
Oh, Benji looks like he's going to take advantage of that up the inside.
Gets the job done on Crash. Millsy's next. 3 turtles in a row. It's a turtle party.
What do you call a group of turtles?
No. What?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up now. I've said it. A bit like a drill.
Trying to get all their turtles in a row as they come around the long, flat left-hander. Timmy Turtle is the turtle in the bottle. Turtle in the turtle in the bottle. Turtle memes, turtle puns. As Disco comes up the inside through the middle sector.
This surprises me. It's a bale of turtles.
It's a bale of turtles. There you go.
B-A-L-E is a group of turtles. There you go. A bit of trivia for your night with with Trailblazers in this grand final race of Group 4.
You have a slipstream bale of turtles running through the final sector.
I think Benji's going to be hunting Millsy here pretty hard. He's going to want to get back those positions that his penalty took away from him.
We're going to see these three start to work together. A long way to go. It's only lap 2 of 17. Millsy's looking up the inside of Tricky. Thinks better of it.
So we do have softs on Timmy Turtle. Crashy's also on softs. Huey's on mediums, being very relevant there. Kez is on mediums as well.
In the top 8, Disco, Timmy and Crash are all on softs. Everyone else is on the medium.
I have to wonder how long they'll go. Fuel use seems to be quite high. Just at the moment sitting with Bozza, and he's used just about a quarter of a tank in the first 3 laps. So that tells me there's definitely a no option of a no stopper. So it's going to be interesting to see how long these guys can make the mediums run good times, and whether or not that will, whether or not they can repeat that with the softs and another full tank of juice.
Disco's absolutely blitzed. Sorry.
You're right, mate.
I lost my angles then. Disco just blitzed Millsy. Coming down the straight. I'm on board with Millsy now.
Sorry, mate, I'm interrupting you like a bastard. But Lambos is really struggling with Tricky all over him in that BMW.
You see that in the distance. See both battles happening now.
Millsy's still stayed with Benji so far.
And the other 2 turtles have calmed down. Just sitting in the slipstream of Millsy in a support role as Disco disappears down the road. Being on softs, he's got to do damage, Disco. He's got to move through this pack and even get past Lambos and start getting some ground on Mitch. So he is on the soft compound, the faster compound. Being held up between these 2 drivers on the mediums is not going to help his race or his strategy. He's going to need a good overall undercut or a fuel saving trick up his sleeve. As you see, Millsy's almost used a quarter of a tank of fuel after almost 3 laps. So the pit stop looks inevitable.
So just running through everybody's fuel. Oh, Mal's coming out of the pits on a set of mediums and a full tank of juice. So he's run a very early
4
stop
together
there.
now. You can throw a blanket over these 4 coming into the final bus stop.
Lambos runs very defensively on Tricky. We're nearly 5 with Timmy there, making a trying to return to the bale.
Turtles are back. Look at this train now.
Benji has to know that these guys aren't on
5. And that's going to be really encouraging him to move through. As Timmy shows his nose to the mills. Switches back, lifts off a little. Disco now. He's got to get past Tricky. He's on the soft tyres. He's taking the outside line. A little bit of slipstream from Lambos in front of him. It's going to get him in well ahead by the braking zone.
That BMW is good under brakes, but no, probably
Tricky
wisely.
concedes.
Tricky concedes that position.
Millsy still in front of Timmy Turtle.
Tricky has used the most fuel of all the drivers that I can see at the moment. So that pace is damaging his longevity.
Oh, Mitch has used more. Mitch has used more, which means that's going to pull him back in the pack a little. It's only 3-second gap. Disco now closing on Lambos on the softs. I said he needs to catch Lambos and then get on down the road after Mitch.
Absolutely.
With the compound difference. He might get it done through this sector.
Through the campus chicane here. Benji is putting the car all over the place, but Lambos's Aston Martin is probably the widest Aston Martin on the planet at the moment. So we come through Stavelot, then heading up to Blanchimont. Lambos is trying to break the toe, but I think Benji's got him all over here. It'll be very interesting into the last chicane. What was the bus stop?
Side by side.
Oh, I think Benji's going to have this done. Oh, Lambos runs a very, very fast outside line. That's amazing. Bit of action behind. Very close together. Oh, Lambos is going to risk running a penalty there. That was very close to a penalty on the entry into the chicane. As we head down to La Source hairpin again.
Mitch 2.5 seconds down the road from Lambos. Disco 3 seconds off the lead on the faster compound. Mitch in the prime position, but he's used more fuel. Disco's making those softs work. At least on the fuel department, he's got more fuel in the tank than Mitch, Lambos and Millsy around him. He's going to have the slipstream now into the forest.
Just rolling back through the field, Crashy on the softs has used very little fuel. He's using substantially less. He's only got a quarter of a tank used. Basically matching Kez.
Yields, sorry. Yeah, boss yields. Disco takes the position, runs it wide, a little bit of contact. No damage between either car. And that could have been a lot messier. Sorry, mate, carry on.
No, you're all good, mate. Not a problem. I am a bit concerned about Mitch's fuel use on these medium tyres. As we approach midway through lap 5, just trying to work out how many...
Well.
The tyre wear isn't that high on the softs, which is a bit surprising to me. Mad Mitch has used basically the same amount of the mediums as what Benji's used on the softs, and Benji's been pedalling it in a big way. In fact, he's starting to shut down that lead. He's just taken a tenth of a second again out of Mad Mitch through that sector.
The bumper with Millsy now is right on the back. Oh, little mistake just as I start speaking. It saves the rear end of it.
Death on him.
Right on the bumper of Lambos now.
Curse. Oh, this is a tactic that Millsy uses to great effect. He will sit right on the rear bumper of the car in front and pressurise them into an error. Be interesting to see how we go into the chicane here, because Millsy is right underneath the rear bar of that Aston Martin.
Meanwhile, Mitch, his gap is decreasing.
Lambos has held a tight line on the way into the chicane. This could compromise him though to Millsy.
Dives into the pits.
Missed that completely. So Millsy up into third. Lambos is off the mediums with 60% fuel.
He's done 5 laps. He reckons he can go to softs and go to the end? That's the play. Oh. If that's the play, we're going to see what Lambos can do. We're going to see where he comes out in a little bit.
I reckon he's 3 or 4 laps early for one stop. This is going to mean his softs are going to be shagged.
Trying to capitalise on the tyre difference in the middle of the race. Get that track position early and then defend. But it's not easy to do with that big long straight in the middle. Mitch is only now a second in front of Disco. Disco's closing. Millsy only 2.8 off the lead. Timmy Turtle 4.3 off the lead.
I'm still sitting with Lambos here, and it looks like he's coming out in 13th place on softs with 100% fuel, just behind Chompy. Chompy's used half a tank of fuel on softs. His fronts are quite worn on the BMW.
Chompy is his only issue, traffic-wise, at the moment. So get past Chompy, you should be all right. Disco now. Disco's only half a second back from Mitch. He's closed the gap. Gonna get ahead of him at the end of this lap and start building a gap and capitalizing on that compound difference before the pit strategies kick in.
I'm pretty sure that Benji's going to have this done by the top of the hill through Blanchemont and into the bus stop.
So
he's clearly got pace on him, and he's also got the fastest lap of the race at a 2:28.232 at this stage.
Tyre's still looking good, Nick, really. On the
start the climb to Blanchemont.
pulls aside very early. Well, what's happening? We just had a technical glitch.
Oh, side by side. Benji's got it done, no question about it. Benji's a little wide on the exit of Lunchmont, but all good. Millsy is in pursuit.
Technical difficulties there. My controller just went nuts, and our camera controller just got a bit messy.
Yeah,
look, we're good now.
I can't change to onboard, and I don't know why.
You need to exit and go back in. As a spectator.
Well, I'll do that, and I'll come back in, and look at that. Now I can.
Now the chase is on for Mitch. Mitch now can sit in the slipstream of Disco for at least half a lap. Capitalise on that tyre difference. Maybe even save some fuel, as he's used probably about 5% more than Disco.
Okay, so if we start talking about fuel miserly drivers, Crash and Kez are killing it on everyone else at the moment. Of those that haven't stopped.
Big gains there. Kez on the mediums, Crash on the softs. Kez in the better position there.
Oh, Tricky's run wide, his tyres are screaming enough, and Crash has got him. Easy as that.
Outside. And a penalty to boot.
And a penalty to rub it in. Crash is after Tim.
Timmy Turtle's tyres. Timmy Turtle's tyres are transitioning to trash.
Try and do that twice fast.
With
a mouthful of marbles.
Disco's tyres are fine compared to Timmy's. Look at Timmy's front left. Ah, boy.
Benji Disco is smooth.
Millsy's mediums look fresh, basically, as well.
Yeah, well, the 86 is a lighter vehicle. That's got to help.
Disco disappearing down the road now, 1.5 seconds and climbing.
Benji is our resident Pommy in our Aussie lobbies, and he doesn't say a great deal, but what he does in a very smooth, clean English accent, and there's no question it reflects in his driving style. He's not hard on the equipment, but he's bloody fast, and he always has been.
Lisa Norm in the chat, what up? Shout out to the old school OG champion. So still following Disco.
Benji runs through to start lap 8 on his soft tyres, showing a little bit more wear on the front left, just under a half a tank of fuel. Mitch has dropped back to 1.7 seconds behind him, and Millsy is 1.5 behind again. Timmy Turtle, sitting approximately 2 seconds behind Millsy, has quite serious front end tyre wear. Like the Jag is not treating its tyres all that well, and in fact he's just heading towards basically a third of a lap of fuel. Sorry, a third of a tank of fuel left. My apologies, not a third of a lap.
It's all settling down now. Disco 1.8 in front. Mitch with a 1.6 gap back to Millsy. All about 2 seconds spread between the first 4. 3 seconds back to Crash and Tricky.
When we get to QE and Kez, there is a bit of a battle going on here. Tricky is definitely suffering on his tyres.
So we don't know what's going on. We haven't checked in on Lambos for a while. He's been putting in, he put in a 228.5. What's that in relevance?
It's close to, but not quite the fastest lap of the race.
It's the same as Disco's last lap. Disco also on the softs. Mitch doing 229, so he's gaining on Mitch.
Be very interesting to see where Millsy comes out after a pit stop in relation to Lambos, because that's going to tell us a whole lot about what the possibilities are.
Who comes in next? Who pulls the trigger?
I think we're going to have a whole stack of stops either this lap or the next one.
Bozza's chasing Rick through the technical section. Both are on the mediums. Rick's on the mediums as well. Oh, what's this? What's this? Millsy on the tail of Mitch.
Oh, we could have an overtake here, and if not, probably down the straight.
Millsy's tyres are fine as well, so it's a question of when do you go to the softs. Look at his tyres, man.
That is amazing. He's done a brilliant job there.
Does anyone dive into the pits this lap? No, no,
Mitch,
and no. None of the front three take the
he had a bit of a
dive.
slide into the bus stop. So maybe that, mind you, the power reduction hasn't affected Benji at all, but maybe versus the 86, the Jags have just come back a little bit.
Also, we've got Huey and Tricky now. They dive into the pits to get off mediums and onto softs.
Now,
Tricky.
how much they fuel is going to tell us a hell of a lot. Tricky was all over the shop.
Let's see what the numbers go up to. They've all come in with 30% around about.
Yeah,
Disco
Tricky at 26
ahead
has
of
used the most.
Disco 2.2 ahead of Mitch. Millsy 1.7 behind. He's fallen back. What's happening in the pits?
Here we go. Fuel's going in for Tricky. Okay, Tricky and Huey are nose to tail on the exit of the pits. Huey's taken slightly less fuel. He's
90 and 82. Wasn't it? It was 90 and 82 respectively. Right behind each other.
Interesting to see how Huey goes on those.
20 seconds behind Lambos, where they've come out.
Ah, this could be very interesting. Lambos has got a 3/4 of a tank of fuel left. So it'll be interesting to see how Huey goes on that lesser load. And in fact, looks like Tricky's got him already under brakes. And he does. Makes it look easy.
He's going to try and come back at him. Going to look to the inside, or is he going to wait? He waits. What else is going on? Millsy.
Oh, we have a huge penalty for Chompy 89. 2 seconds.
Oh, devastating.
That's not going to help.
Millsy's right in the back of Mitch again. And they're
Is
only
anyone
3
going to pit
seconds
here?
behind Disco. Disco's in. Millsy's in.
Millsy's followed him.
Mitch stays out.
Okay, so Mitch is going to run those mediums for, I wonder, 1 or 2 more laps.
3.5 seconds. 3.5 seconds was the gap. Crash with 44% when he comes in. 3.5 seconds was the gap between Millsy and Disco.
Okay, Lambos has set a
put in a hot lap. He's surely going to have to respond and come in next lap.
Lambos has done a fastest lap of the race. He is just starting through the bus stop now.
Where does he come out in relevance to everybody else? This is so exciting.
This is going to be very exciting to see what happens at the end of the pit straight here.
Disco
Look at Kez Audio, 40%.
Disco had a little bit more than Mills.
And it looks to me like Lambos is going to be ahead of the entire pitting pack.
Comfortably.
Absolutely.
Then comes Disco.
Disco comes out at 2 seconds behind.
Then comes Crashy.
Oh, so
Massive
Crashy
play
used
with
a
the
lot
fuel.
less fuel. And I would say that Kez will end up in the same situation. He will step ahead once he comes out of the pits.
Crashy hasn't changed tyres on my screen.
Oh.
He's on worn softs on my display.
Yeah,
Mitchie,
he's on mine too.
Mediums. Then Disco's come out on the mediums. And this Crashy's planning a master play of some description. He might have come out early. He didn't very much fuel.
No, he definitely hasn't used a lot of fuel, so that explains his jump ahead. But he's going to have to run the mediums. Maybe he's accidentally bumped the no change button. That has happened before.
So 33.5 seconds is the gap. Lambos is gaining. Last 3 laps from Mitch were a 30, a 29, and a 29, both high. Lambos, you can see that on the right, a 28, a 27, a 28. Outlap was a 22. What?
Okay, so Mitch is now showing red on the fuel. I don't think there's any reason why he wouldn't pit now.
He has to respond now, right? He's losing a second a lap or 2 seconds a lap.
And he does.
Alright, so this is the question.
Lambos is approaching.
Millsy up the inside of Crash. Side by side.
I think Crash has to have made a mistake in the pits.
We're about to find out and see if he comes back in.
See him go back into the pits. But Mitch only had 8% of fuel left. Crash has gone back ahead of Millsy. Oh, there's a bit of contact. Crash moves over to give him the racing room. Lambos has taken the lead of the race.
So Mitch came in with 8% fuel.
And
Crashy goes
Crash back in the pits.
Big mistakes there by the Turtles pit crew.
Massive. Okay, so Lambos is showing 3.8 seconds ahead of Benji. Make that 4 seconds ahead of Benji.
And he's on the soft tyres.
He's on the softs. He's got just over a half a tank of fuel left. There is a possibility this is a masterstroke.
And he's pulled it off.
The fuel is the one concern, because the softs seem to last pretty well, but don't forget he pitted at lap 7.
6.5 laps are a long time. So Lambos 4 seconds back to Disco, 4.5 seconds back to Millsy, 4.5 seconds back to Mitch 4 seconds back to Turtle.
Mitch has definitely suffered. That extra lap really made a mistake.
Tyre advantages to Lambos, Millsy and Disco. Disco's on the medium, so is Timmy Turtle. Kez is on the soft, so is Tricky, Huey and Bozza. And Rick.
He's got past Tricky.
There's every chance that pack of soft runners might reel in the medium runners. But our race leader Lambos 4 seconds ahead in front with the tyre advantage. Millsy trying to chase down Disco, slowly reeling in that 4 second gap with a tyre advantage over Disco. As Lambos pulled off the play. The big undercut.
Could
getting the most out of those fresh tyres early.
Crash has suffered terribly with what has to have been an error in the pits. Dropped into 11th place, 46 seconds off the pace. That's gutting. He'll be devastated. Down the back of the pack, we've got Mixer running quite a distance in front of Chompy. Unfortunately, it looks like Mal's had a couple of issues. He's not yet close to being lapped, but that's a shame. Mal's a bloody good racer. He's obviously had a couple of incidents, and I know he had a couple of penalties there as well. So, moving back to the front, Lambos has maintained his lead over Benji. In fact, I think he's pulled out a 10th or 2. Runs a 28.3, which is very competitive.
This is a 28.9. Whether or not those soft tyres will hold together for the rest of the race, how much damage can Lambos do now with the tyre advantage before they start to fade? And will those mediums come back to life, and will Lambos come back to Disco?
Well, he's a bit loose through Radion, but interestingly, Disco and Lambos have identical fuel loads.
Yeah,
so that early stop,
now.
His fuel management, Lambos may have, as I said before, taken an absolute masterstroke, and he's run the fastest first sector of the race as well, at 10th, up on his own record. Mitch appears to be slightly taking time out of Millsy, but only just. Oh, and he's just got a 1.5 second penalty for cutting the first corner at the end of the Canada straight. That's a complete shame for Mitch. That's going to probably exclude him from reaching Millsy. Mr. Kez Audio has romped past Tim Turtle, now 2 seconds ahead of him. 7 seconds, unfortunately, behind Mitch, but on
Timmy's
a
got
charge.
a 2.5 second penalty.
He's run a brilliant out and a brilliant second lap out. 2:28.9, very consistent from Ez.
Timmy and Mitch both carrying penalties. That's huge. That's huge for the top 6. I mean, it's tricky. He's going to be relevant.
Absolutely. Huey's also carrying a half-second penalty. The penalties have fallen out of the sky for him all now.
Millsy is reeling Disco in now. It's been 1.5 seconds this lap already. Almost 2 seconds now. A tyre advantage for Millsy is really coming into play.
Absolutely. He's also running the soft tyre on a lighter fuel load, which has to be a much higher benefit than what Benji did to start the race on it.
Millsy's tyre is in much better condition than Lambos, so if he can catch Disco and get on down the road and really drive aggressively.
Interestingly for Group 4, and I'm a bit remiss to mention this because I don't want Millsy to be annoyed, and Millsy's just pulled the fastest lap of the race out at a 27.5.
Boom!
But he's also using traction control, which is generally slower in Gran Turismo Sport.
It's an open assist lobby. We can all...
Yes, absolutely. He's allowed to. He is allowed to. I'm not saying he's not, but I just find it a bit interesting. In the 86, he's choosing to use TC. Most people know that TC is meant to be slower. So...
I'm slower when I don't use it.
Yeah, I think certainly, and I know Millsy's not on a controller, but I know on a controller it's certainly an advantage.
2.5 seconds now as he's got purple. Yeah, we both just saw that at the same time.
Purple again. Lambos's gap at the front has moved out by another 0.4. It's now 5.4 seconds with 4.5 laps to go. His fuel load is still identical to Benjamin's. Mate, if I were a betting man, I'd be putting 5 bob on Lambos to take the championship out at this rate, unless I put the kiss of death on him by being a commentator curse.
Have a mechanical issue, and then Millsy comes from behind and fucking gets Disco.
But
anyway, let's go. Sod's Law.
Got to be careful. I don't want to be blamed for the loss of the championship. So the other person who's really impressing me now is Kez. He's taken nearly 5 seconds out of Tricky, and he is catching Mitch. So his last lap was his fastest lap of the race, a 2:28.8, compared to Mitch at a 2:30.8. So he took 2 seconds out of Mitch in that one lap.
Both on soft compounds.
I think that, and in fact, Mitch has just stepped the pace up a bit. He's just gone 7/10 faster than his previous for the second sector.
Only 2 drivers on the medium compounds in the top 8. That's Disco, Benjamin Disco in 2nd, Timmy Turtle in 7th. Lambos 6 seconds now ahead of Disco. Millsy, all of a sudden, is 6/10 behind Benjamin. When did that happen?
That will come down to the 2-minute 27.573 that he just ran, which was only 0.005 of a second off his fastest lap.
So fast, so consistent. We're going to go on board with him now as they come up the hill through Radion and Arouge.
I'm going to share that opportunity with you.
Blown back out to our second. Just waiting. He's not close enough for slipstream, just outside of slipstream range. The damage will be done through the technical sectors.
Absolutely. Mitch might have heard me because he's just stepped from a 2:30 to a 2:28.
Almost purple by a 10th.
Mad Mitch is purple by 7/10.
What?
It surprised me too, my friend. So he ran a 2:28.4 last lap, and he was just 7/10 up in Sector 1. So he's heading to possibly a 2:26 in the Jaguar on soft tyres and just under a half tank of fuel. This will be an impressive lap.
This is still closing in on Disco. Tyre advantage will be apparent as they run through this technical sector here. Millsy has entered the chat. Pulls that alongside, a little bit of contact. Shuts the door.
Millsy's technique of sitting as close as possible and trying to cause an error.
So close.
How was that not contact? Just checking
Gonna
in on...
get it done by the bus stop.
Mitch has dropped off the purple, but he's still a full second up on his fastest lap, pulling the gap out to Kez to 8 seconds.
Both flat stick.
Oh,
looks to the inside, thinks about it. Tucks back in.
Amazing braking. Great racing from both of them. That is so... a bit of contact on the exit of the bus stop. It's dropped Millsy back to half a second again.
And they go around again. 3 laps remaining. Lambos out in the lead.
Mad Mitch with a 2:27.483, taking a 10th off Millsy's
Where did
time.
that come from? After a 2:30.8 a couple of laps ago.
Amazing.
Huge.
So he's pulled Kez out to 8.5, so I think that battle's over as well with 3 laps to go in this race.
Millsy in slipstream reign at this time. 0.75.
But the Jaguar's pulling out on the little 86. This is where the 86 doesn't do the straight line as well. Lambos is killing it out front, keeping it at roughly 6 seconds, just under 6 second lead.
Just consistent.
It's an amazing drive.
Oh no! Disco! Oh no, never mind.
Something went wrong.
I think
it didn't.
You know when it lags and it sends a car off into space? Yeah. I cut to it late, and there was a lag spike, and he crashed, but he didn't actually crash.
Right.
He didn't actually crash. Alternate reality, he did.
Absolutely.
Millsy's still on his tail.
That car is completely identical. Sorry,
where's he gonna get through? He's gonna get through somewhere.
Oh, there's more contact. He really has to get it done in the technical section because
if he makes the overtake, he'll gain a place here. So that shows his nose. He's not seeing the slipstream yet. I don't think he wants to do it before the kick. Yeah, he wants to wait till after the kick.
He's definitely full tilt though. He hasn't lifted off. And he's got a good run, but he's on the outside again, and he's not going to get that done.
Not close enough unless he breaks late. He waits again.
Oh, so it's becoming a game of tactics right now.
The last 2 laps between that braking zone and the top of Radion or Rouge, he's losing 7/10 somewhere.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is the lack of straight line speed in the 86.
If he can stay closer this time and keep it to within 4 or 5 tenths, he'll have that stronger slipstream. He might be able to get past. But look, Disco's just taken off. Look at the time gap.
Advantage. Even with the reduction in power, it's quite clear that car was a bit OP. And there's some blue flags waving. They might be catching up to Mal.
He's closer this time.
Oh, you got a better run that time.
He should be in the slipstream, but does he have enough power?
He's making hundreds.
Marginal ground, but he's not losing ground.
Yep.
It's just about where does he get past. If he can't get past, he looks up the inside here. Contact. Disco slides off.
There is going to be a discussion about that one. Was he far enough alongside?
It looks to me like Disco turned in, and the resulting physics, calculations, obviously then sends you off with momentum. But I think just from one shot, one call, I think Disco turned in. But
what'll be interesting is to know how far alongside Millsy actually was, to see if he passed the Trailblazers test of overtaking rules. He has to have the front of his car alongside the base of the windscreen, or the very front of the A pillar of the car in front.
I'll move that to the stewards, but from my angle, racing incident where Disco's turned in.
Disco definitely left the door open for Millsy to put the car in there, because Millsy wasn't off the track, so that might cause some discussion though. Let's see what happens after the race. It'd be a shame if it came down to that.
Well, Mitch is now relevant on Disco. He's just behind. Was there any damage? No damage for either driver. Mitch has the tyre advantage, but his tyres are more worn. His last lap was also a 27.9.
And Lambos is heading across the line to begin the final lap of the race with a red fuel, but I think he's going to make it. He's also just lapped Mal. Hats off to Lambos. What an amazing drive. Pitting so early, I didn't think it was possible. I really didn't. I thought he was going to have to two-stop. Moving back, just to recap, we've got Millsy at nearly 6 seconds behind Lambos. Benji sitting in front of the team boss, Mitch.
Final lap battle with a tyre difference there, Kaz.
Tricky, Kiwi, Bozza, Timmy Turtle back in 9th, Rick Reen in 10th. Crash suffering terribly from his pit error.
Bozza's right on the tail of Kiwi here. Might have some last lap dramatics.
Chompy nearly stuck it in the wall out of Blanchimont. I don't know how the hell he caught that. That was very impressive.
Goes alongside, better exit, out of the top of the hill. Bozza's away from Kiwi. Kiwi's going to look to come back at him.
Okay, so I think that Lambos is starting to save some fuel. He has lost a second to Millsy over the beginning part of this lap. I think he might have had, but it's quite clear that the 86 is charging down the Aston Martin.
Mitch has picked up a 1.5 second penalty while he's been trying to chase down Disco, so that's going to secure the grid as we see it. It sends it deep, but that should have enough time to recover.
Millsy has now got it down to 4 seconds. That means he's taken 2 seconds out of Lambos, who's clearly saving fuel and short shifting like crazy.
Kiwi half a second on Bozza and closing. Lambos has done it. 4 seconds the gap. Is he going to make it?
Through Blanchimont. Plenty of fuel in hand. Hats off
into
to
the bus stop.
That was amazing. Brilliant run. Softs for nearly 12 laps. And he's out of the last corner, out of the bus stop, and across the line to take the championship. Well done, Lambos. Congratulations.
Champion of champions, Lambos. 3.7 seconds in front of Millsy in second place. Disco coming across the line in third.
We have Mad Mitch 3 seconds behind. Kez coming through the bus stop to bring it up from nearly the back of the grid after his poor qualifying race. Congratulations,
big performance from Kez for fifth. Yeah, big race, mate.
Drive.
Tricky B down in sixth. And Bozza and Kiwi is going to sprint to the line. Bozza gets there first. Timmy Turtle in 9th position. Rick Reen rolls across in 10th.
Crash pulls up 11th with quite a substantial gap to Chompy now. Crash would have to be kicking himself. There must have been. Well, you're not meant to yawn when doing commentary, I apologise, but there must have been an issue there on that first pit stop for Crash. That's devastating for him, especially with the length of time that the entry to the pit stop takes now.
Chompy and Mixer, we go to Lambos, we go on board, we go flying around Lambos on cam with our champion. Carry on.
And Mixer crosses the line in 13th place. Malevolent, having been lapped, had already finished. Congratulations, gentlemen. Lambos, as I said before, my friend, hats off to you. A superlative drive. Very clean. Picks up pole position and clean race and the victory.
Strategy masterclass. So what did he do? He must have... I think he did the minimum laps to then take a full tank.
Yes.
And softs.
And then made it to the end on softs.
Big undercut. And got it done.
Hugely impressed. Absolutely
no slipstream for half the race. More than half the race he had no slipstream.
It pushed him all the way down to 13th. And then just was consistent. His lap times were all very consistent within about a second. And that's what you've got to do in these longer races with the tyre wear and fuel use. You've got to be consistent. I think
was
driver
consistent.
of
It was
the
like
day,
28s all the way through for the second stint.
Absolutely. Driver of the day for my money, obviously Lambos has won the race, but driver of the day from my call is Kez. He started in 11th or 12th. Not the fastest out of the group, but just his consistency and his lack of fuel use meant that he climbed up, and this is where Crash would have ended up in the same position had he not had the error in the pit stop. So it'll be interesting to hear from them to see what happened and what caused that issue.
Yeah, I think also one of the onboards to watch was Disco coming through the first stint on those soft tyres. Not a bad start, but then managed to work his way all the way to the front.
I'm hoping we don't end up in the steward's room with Millsy v Disco, but
and that's the other thing. Yeah, the podium. So the podium as it stands on the track, Lambos, Millsy, Disco, with the one incident between Disco and Millsy, which may or may not go to the steward's room, but we'll find out after that. But as far as we're concerned today, Lambos takes the cake, followed by Millsy, Disco, Mitch, Kez Audio, Tricky Brewer, Bozza, Kiwi, Timmy Turtle, Rick Green down in 10th, Crashy in 11th, Chompy, Mixer, and Malevolent. And thus concludes another season of Trailblazers.
Absolutely. We'll be returning after Easter sometime to start it all over again.
So. See if we can get let's see if we can get him. Let's see if we can get him. He's already added. Go back to the race results screen. Thus concludes Season 6 of Trailblazers Champions Series, I believe, unless I'm wrong.
No, absolutely.
Thanks, Norm.
Well,
cheers, mate.
Group 3 tomorrow night to
Oh,
finish
still.
everything
Okay, yeah, my bad.
Then, as I said, off until after Easter when the one make will return with a Group 3 Porsche.
I am in for that.
Porsche Cup.
I'm back, baby. The Porsche's my baby. Let's go.
And then I believe Group 4 on Thursday night and Group 3 on Friday night will be mid-engine rear drive only.
I might be able to work Thursdays too. Brilliant.
So that moving the engine and transmission positions around the cars and drive locations around to try and mix things up a bit. So it'll be interesting to see